Welcome back to That Philly Sports Girl. I'm your host, Elise Person, and last night the Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Dallas Cowboys 23-9 to hold on to first place of the NFC East with an overall record of 3-4-1. Last night's win was not a pretty one, but a win is a win. We love a win against Dallas, so we'll take it. However, there's just a lot of things from last night's game that I was just really not happy with, and honestly, it really comes down to how disappointed I was with Carson Wentz's play. Yesterday, I actually expected the Eagles to destroy the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys defense has been letting up so many points recently. The Eagles got not Alshon Jeffrey, but Jalen Reagor and Dallas Goedert back. And I was just expecting our defense to take advantage of the third string quarterback who was playing for the Cowboys, but the Eagles just really didn't show up and take advantage of the game like I thought that they were going to. The Eagles are down at halftime 9-7. I really wanted to go into halftime dominating and just letting the Cowboys know we're here to win. We're here to win the division no matter what, but that's really not what it felt like yesterday. So Carson Wentz, every single week, it's bad, but last night was way, way too horrible, way too prominent in his mistakes, the turnovers. In the first half alone, Carson Wentz has 3 turnovers, 1 pick and 2 fumbles. Then in the second half, he throws another pick. The Cowboys defense had 3 turnovers on the entire season coming into last night, and we let the Cowboys defense walk away last night with 4 turnovers. Carson Wentz's first fumble came on the very first Eagles drive of the day, where he just looked like a deer in headlights. You know, he saw the defender running towards him, and it was like he froze. And I don't know what happened. Maybe it was because of the first snap. He wasn't really, or not the first snap, the first play of the drive. Like, it wasn't, maybe, I don't know. I just feel like there's really nothing to defend him in there because you're a franchise quarterback. You cannot be having those moments where you forget where you are, forget how to play. I don't really know what else to say about that. It was just horrible. He looked like a rookie quarterback last night. So let's compare Carson Wentz to the rookie third-string quarterback for the Cowboys, Ben DiNucci. Their numbers are actually pretty similar to last night's. Carson Wentz last night was 15 for 27 with 123 yards on the night with a passer rating of 61.2. DiNucci was 21 for 40 with 180 yards on the night and a passer rating of 64.6. Wentz finished with 4 turnovers, 2 fumbles, and 2 picks, and DiNucci finished with 1 turnover, a fumble that was recovered by the Eagles for a touchdown. Carson Wentz, as a franchise quarterback, should not be finishing the night with very similar, maybe even arguably worse numbers as the Cowboys' third stringer. That's just unacceptable, and we're not going to ignore the fact that Carson Wentz had offensive threats, Jalen Reagor and Dallas Goedert back in the mix. This, I believe, was Carson Wentz's worst game since week 1 or 2, maybe arguably worst game of the entire season, because he kind of seemed to be turning a corner in the past few games. I was genuinely excited. I think a lot of Eagles fans were, but then after last night's game, I'm just a little confused as to where the lack of progression is, where the lack of awareness is, and I'm getting a little frustrated at the end of the day too, because we have Jalen Hurts sitting right there, and we're not utilizing him at all. Do I think that Doug Peterson is going to bench Carson Wentz? No. I mean, even last night he talked in the press conference after Carson Wentz's 4th turnover. There was never even a conversation of benching Carson Wentz. I think Carson Wentz is Doug Peterson's, he's their ride or die. They're not going to go with anybody besides Carson, but to be having such a talented quarterback on the sidelines as well, it's kind of frustrating and a little confusing as to what's going on when we have our starting quarterback turning the ball over 4 times in a pretty big game, and then a backup quarterback who's pretty talented on the sidelines. So those are just some things to think about, I guess, going into especially the bye week next week. What is next for Carson Wentz? What is next for the Philadelphia Eagles offense and their quarterback? So to talk about their offense, let's talk about some positives now, because we did have some positives on the offensive end, and that comes from a lot of the receivers, running backs. Travis Fulgham right now is leading the Eagles in receptions. He finished last night with a touchdown and 6 receptions for 78 yards. Boston Scott is also looking great in the running game. He finished last night with 15 carries for 70 yards. This week and last week were great performances by Boston Scott, and he's really stepping up with Miles Sanders being out. I felt like he was definitely a little quiet in the first few weeks, because Miles Sanders is just such a dominating and apparent force. But with him out, I really appreciate Boston Scott stepping up and making these big plays. Last night, Jalen Reagor has his first NFL touchdown after coming back from an injury earlier than expected. He talked this past week about how mental toughness contributed to his quick return. He said, "It's all mental. You've got to want to get back, and you'll get back. If you want to keep nursing it, you can go ahead and keep nursing it. It's all mental." I'm so happy to see Jalen Reagor back on the field and healthy and also contributing, touchdowns. I also kind of laughed a little bit when I saw his comments about how it's all mental. I totally agree. I love that mindset. He just wants to get back on the field, but it's also funny coming from such an injury-prone Eagles team. Like, I wonder if some players on the sidelines when he said that, or not on the sidelines, but hearing him say that, were just like, I'm doing the best I can to get back too. But no, it is funny because such an injury-prone team, he's talking about it's all mental, man. You got to get back. And I will say I really appreciate his desire and his hungriness to get back and contribute to the Eagles, because contribute he did last night. The touchdown, he had 3 receptions. He was doing great last night, and for his first game back, I was just really happy to see him on the field. On the offensive line, Jordan Mailata is really holding on his own. With Lane Johnson out last night with a knee injury, he looked really great at right tackle. I was definitely really happy and have been happy with his progression, especially being thrown in with the injuries that happened. He was kind of put in a position where it was like, you got to sink or swim. You got to step up and protect our quarterback, or you just can't hang in the big leagues. And he stepped up, and I'm so happy for him. And I'm just happy that we have these offensive linemen that we can kind of pick and choose from a little bit now once we're all healthy, because we have developed some of these players in the past couple weeks when so many of our key starters were out. So now moving on defensively, Brandon Graham is such a presence on our defense week in and week out. Graham finished last night with 4 tackles and 1 sack. Now let's look at Graham's career stats against the Cowboys. He, against the Cowboys, has 9 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 2 fumbles recovered. Graham spoke this week about how he hopes that this is the year that he finally gets his Pro Bowl nod and gets his picture up on the wall in the NovaCare Center, along with all the other Eagles Pro Bowlers. And I think this is the year that he can do that. He is having a standout season in his 11th season, and I would just be so happy to see him as a Pro Bowler. In a press conference this past week, he said, "I'm excited, man. I feel good. Hopefully I can get up on that wall. That's always been a goal of mine, get up on that Pro Bowl wall. Really, this year, I'm trying to go all pro too. I'm trying to do it all." And if Graham can keep playing this way and the way that he has in the first 8 weeks of this season, there are no goals that are too far out of reach for him, in my opinion. I think that he has been a dominating, clear-cut force for the Eagles' defense, and I would love to see this for him. He has done so many great things in Philadelphia for the Eagles that, as a fan, it would make me so happy to see him reach some of his personal goals. So now Fletcher Cox had one of the most impressive nights of the season on his end, in my opinion. He finished the night with 3 tackles, and 2 of them being tackles for loss with 1 sack. Overall, in the prior 7 games, he has been relatively quiet, but last night was definitely a game where Fletcher Cox was being talked about, the Army Crawl was being brought out, and it just made me happy to finally see him. contributing isn't the right word, but being more of a standout player, should I say. Because I will say that he has not, I don't think in the first 7 games, that was not really the Fletcher Cox that I'm used to. I'm more used to a more demanding Fletcher Cox, one that people know where he is, know what's going on. And last night, I think we finally saw a glimpse of that, and I can't wait for the next couple next couple games, because I think that he's going to just continue to be great in the next couple of games. So now let's talk playoffs. We are in first place in the division. So no matter my feelings, your feelings about last night's performance, a win is a win, and a win over the Cowboys puts the Eagles' percentage at making the playoffs up to 67%. And at the end of the day, the most important thing right now is honestly really trying to make a playoff run. And a 67% chance at the playoffs, especially with a 3-4-1 record, I'll take it. I don't hate it. I'll take it. So now looking towards the NFC East, tonight the Giants face off against Tampa Bay Buccaneers with an 8:15 kickoff time. The Washington football team had a bye week this past week and then looks ahead next week to face the Giants. And next week the Eagles will have a bye and then face off against the Giants in week 10. For the bye week, it's very important for the Eagles to just focus on getting some more guys healthy, taking the time for guys to fully recover from possible lingering injuries, maybe injuries that we don't even know about, ones that they've kind of swept under the rug. Big time to just take the time and get healthy. Completely recover, eat right, sleep, get what you need to, so that we can go into week 10 in the second half of the season a more healthy and dominating team. I think also a big thing for the bye week is Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson need to figure out what's going on under center, watch some game film, and try to ensure that Carson Wentz does not have another game like he did last night. 4 turnovers, way too many. So I think that would be something really great that they could take advantage of in the next 2 weeks, the time that they have. I'm sure that they will. They can't ignore what happened in the Cowboys game last night. So I think it's going to be a great time for some recovery and then hopefully some looking internally at what's going on offensively. That's going to do it for this week. Next week is the bye week, so no Eagles football then. Sad face. But I'll see you in 2 weeks for week 10 versus the Giants. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm ThatPhillySportsGirl, and thank you so much again.